Welcome back. We are excited to have you here to talk about our first year seminar program at Southwestern University. And to start us off is Julie Cowley, who is the Assistant Vice President of Academic Affairs. So Julie, I'm going to let you take over.
Great, thanks, Laura. Good morning. We are excited about this opportunity to tell you about one of Southwestern's signature programs, the First Year and Advanced Entry Seminar. My name is Julie Cowley, and I coordinate the FYS AES program. I'm joined today by 3 FYS AES faculty who will introduce themselves shortly. Every new student at Southwestern enrolls in a first year or advanced entry seminar during their first semester. The FYS AES experience introduces students to the Paideia philosophy of making connections through the lens of an interdisciplinary topic. This is a 4-credit graded course that focuses on critical and creative thinking, writing, reading, research, and informed discussion, as well as helping you orient to the college and Southwestern liberal arts experience. These seminars are not targeted to particular majors, so you will find yourself in a seminar with up to 18 students who may be majoring in 18 different disciplines. After submitting their deposit, students preference 5 choices from a selection of 22 seminars that represent just about all of our academic departments. Transfer students will have the opportunity to rank the 3 advanced entry seminar options that will be taught in the fall. You can read the summaries of all of the seminars on the FYS AES website. You will find out which seminar you will be in the week before Sprague orientation. At that time, you will also learn about your summer assignment for the course, a great introduction to what FYS and AES are all about. At this time, each of the FYS AES faculty will introduce themselves and tell you about their seminar. You are welcome to submit your questions, and we will get to those in just a bit. We'll begin with Professor Hauer.
Thank you so much, Julie, and welcome to everyone. My name is Jess Hauer, and I'm in the history department. I teach classes and research on early modern Europe, Britain and the British Empire, the medieval era, witches, nuns, prostitutes, wives, and queens, and history and memory. 7th year at Southwestern. So I wanted to start with a little bit of word association. Henry Morgan, Blackbeard, Captain Hook, Jack Sparrow, Napster. So what do all these nefarious characters have in common, and what do we think about when we hear their names and see the Jolly Roger on Southwestern gear? Pirates. But what's a pirate, and why do they capture our curiosity so? Why would someone choose to become a pirate, and why? And how? Is there such a thing as a good, just, even democratic or necessary pirate, or are all pirates about robbery, intimidation, even terrorism? So this is my FYS. We use our own swashbuckling Southwestern mascot as our overarching organizational scheme. We wade, sorry, bad water pun in there, it's par for the course, into the changing definitions of piracy from its ancient forms in the Mediterranean to its Caribbean golden age to modern piracy on the high seas and online. But why pirates? Just over 6 years ago, I did what many of you are doing, albeit virtually today. I stepped foot on this campus for the very first time, trying to decide where I would spend the next years of my life, and not just the next 4 years, but my entire career. I looked around and I swear I've never felt more energized. I started to imagine myself here. And then I looked up and I saw the university flag, and I looked around and saw students proudly wearing Southwestern apparel, pirates everywhere. And so it clicked. That's the thing about this place. You get to do this stuff, to discover what it is that gets you going, what keeps you going, and pushes you to question and study the world around you. And it gives you the intellectual skills and practical tools by which to do so. And that process really does begin in the first year seminar. So sure, pirates are fun, but they're so much more than that. And that makes them a wondrous vehicle for first year seminar. Because first, pirates and piracy are inherently interdisciplinary and intercultural, 2 concepts that are central to the very special brand of the liberal arts here at SU. And part of the purpose of FYS is to expose you to what those 2 things mean and to appeal to every student, regardless of their interests. So my class construes pirates really broadly, from the more traditional Long John Silver-esque types, as well as more modern caricatures and connotations. We discuss pirates in literature, the media, law, technology, society, and the environment. And the result is that we naturally envelop a whole host of disciplines and approaches that you can practice as part of SU's curriculum. From history, religion, English, philosophy, and classics in the humanities, to political science, economics, psychology, sociology, and anthropology in the social sciences, to art, theater, music, and art history and the fine arts, even biology and computer science and the natural sciences. Then we see how, when we put all these disciplines together, we create a new, sophisticated, and altogether stunning appreciation, not just of Captain Jack, but also of the world around us. At the same time, the course introduces you to the specific components and unique opportunities of the SU experience, to the values that really sustain our university community. For example, our time spent on the Golden Age allows us to discuss social justice and community engagement, to ask whether pirates fostered a radical form of democracy and maybe even broke down inequalities that existed on land. Tracing the changing face and background and makeup of pirate society, we understand racial, ethnic, and even gendered components of piracy. But lastly, pirates' complicated and changing definition, its relationship to social and cultural norms, and the often fuzzy line between legal and illegal have made pirates a flashpoint of controversy for centuries. And so all of this means that the topic facilitates debate and synthesis. FYS will offer you a close, respectful, informed, and content-driven space that allows for ideas about piracy to clash and for all of us to see how knowledge and understanding can emerge out of that clash. You'll ask meaningful questions, appreciate multiple perspectives, mount and sustain arguments, and dialogue with others. Pirates take things, and in understanding how and why they do, we can hone the intellectual skills that'll guide you through your semesters at SU and well beyond, no matter what path you choose after graduation. Through this one topic, you get to experience Southwestern and the richness of opportunities that will soon surround you. You get to choose to be a pirate. How awesome is that? All right, I'll turn things over to Scott.
Thanks, Jess. So my name's Scott McLean. I'm in the kinesiology department. Guess I'm getting ready to go into my 20th year here at Southwestern. And my area of expertise is biomechanics. So that's really taking physics and applying it to the study of human movement. Don't let that scare you away. The topic that my seminar covers is running. And don't let that scare you away. There's no expectation that anybody in my seminar has to run. Maybe some people will want to develop that desire, but it is not something that I certainly impress upon anybody. The whole idea of this seminar for me, and I've been teaching in it, I think I've taught in it 18 out of my 20 years, 19 out of my 20 years, most of the time that I've been here, is that we have a topic and that sort of centralizes what we're doing, and it does provide us a chance to discuss things and move forward in the class. But like Jess mentioned, there's a whole other aspect to FYS, which is really introducing you to the college experience. So let me take a second and explain a little bit about my topic and then talk about how, while it is an idea that we want to maintain, the class is actually pretty flexible in the directions that we move. So to put it in a nutshell, whether you believe it or not, you have the tools to be a runner. And there's a fairly substantial article that came out in the early 2000s that pretty much described how an important step in the evolution of the human species was that we moved from these sort of meandering, clumsy walkers into rather elite distance runners. And that's actually how we survived. It's how we hunted. And it's how we actually changed our diet from a more plant-based diet into a more protein-rich diet, which allowed our brains to evolve and develop, and everything kind of spun from there. We've maintained all of these tools in our anatomy, and there's fairly strong evidence to suggest that whether you like it or not, you can go out and be a pretty good runner. Now that's just part of it. That's just the basic structure of things. So we try and explore a variety of different aspects of running. We look at the social aspect of it, and then we expand and think about the social aspects of physical activity and exercise. Why is it more fun to go out and do things with other people as opposed to do it by yourself? We look at cultural aspects, and so we look at some different examples. We use a group of Indians in Central America, the Tarahumara. We look at some of the Native American groups, and we examine how running is an important part of their culture. And why is it that that has persisted? And then we kind of turn our attention to the idea of, instead of just running, just physical activity, and why should that be an important part of our life? I think we can see right now one of the reasons that physical activity is an important part of your life. And while this isn't a major component of the seminar, the more active you remain, the healthier you are. And to put it in a nutshell, it allows your immune system to stay robust and be able to fight off lots of different things. And so this is something, you know, that we use in our department, in the kinesiology department, to promote a theme that we call exercise as medicine. And while I guess in the last 6 years or so, probably about half of the seminars I've taught, we've actually included an entire section on exercise as medicine. But it kind of leads me to something I want to talk about with the seminar, and the fact that I'm flexible. And I look at the people that are in the seminar, and I look at what their interests are. And if I can, I will drive the seminar in a direction that kind of meets their interests. And so in half of the last 6 years, that was something that people wanted to discuss. So we did. And the other half, I want to discuss it. So we moved in other directions. So I will echo one other thing, and the fact that as an introductory class to college, probably the most important thing in this seminar for me is that you engage and you connect. And so fully a quarter of your grade is just simply participating. Come in, be active, have fun, explore some things, and believe it or not, you'll probably walk away with some knowledge that you wouldn't have gotten in any other class. With that, I'll turn it over to Desi.
Hey, welcome everybody. I know this is a very different and sort of strange experience to do this virtual, but my name is Professor Desiree Ball. I teach in the theater department. I'm chair of the department. I'm also the NCAA faculty athletic rep for Southwestern. Before I go into a little bit about my advanced entry seminar course, first, Jess and Scott have done a fantastic job along with Julie in sort of prepping all this. I'd like to kind of share a little story sort of where I am. I'm in my office. I live in Georgetown, but at my home, my wife who works at home, so she is on the computer. My son, who is a junior here at Southwestern, is at home. My daughter, who's a first year at another university, is at home. And then a friend of theirs is also living with us, along with our two dogs. So in many ways, it's like I'm living back in the dorms. Our life has no morning, it has no evening, it has no regular sleep pattern. So yesterday, for example, everyone has different due dates. And so there was 4 of us having dinner at the normal time, 6 o'clock. And my son enters the kitchen and says, "Good morning, everybody." And so it's sort of, I know what you're all dealing with. We all do. It's a new normal. But one thing that I can say is that I am very grateful that they're all home, they're all safe, and we give each other space. And I think with the Advanced Entry Seminar, we approach that in a similar way. We know that everyone comes in with different needs, different expectations, and with the Advanced Entry Seminar student, you're in a different life space. I totally get it. Some people have families, some people have other commitments. And so what I try to do in my seminar, like the other seminars, is that we approach the topic in a way that the class chooses to move the topic. So the name of my topic, and oddly enough, it's very relevant to what we're doing right now. It's the transformative experience of wearing a mask. So I developed this topic 3 years ago, and the idea with the mask is that we all wear a mask every day. If you're a parent, you wear the parent mask. If you're an athlete and you're on the field, you put on your game face. If you are on stage in a role, you put on that character and you become that character. So we use masks every day. What each student does when they come into the class is we look at the history of mask and what their connection is to society, culture, religion, science, in many forms, in all the disciplines. So to give you a little bit of an example of some of the projects that the students have done in the past, I had a pre-med major, health science major in my course last year. And so she chose to do research on the gas masks, that were developed for the trench warfare in World War I. And it was interesting that she discovered that many of the first masks that were created actually caused more death because they were nothing more than a canvas sack with two glass spheres for vision. And so she had a wonderful opportunity to explore a topic that is very interesting to her in health sciences. I had another student that did research on the mask of drag and transgender orientation. And their experience informed the class on a topic of a focus that many of us just didn't have a context for, and it was very enriching. I had another student that is Iranian, and so she did her mask on the burqa and what that means, and the hijab. And it was very interesting to find out the connections that we have in religion, and some of those connections go across religions. Christianity using the veil in sometimes similar ways that the Muslim faith uses the veil. So we all learned so much from what everyone brought to the class. And I've taught in the program now for, this will be my 17th year. It's my 20th year here at Southwestern, going on my 21st. And I truly love the program. I think it's something that engages students. We take you where you are. Some of you come in with incredible writing skills. And so we take you from that level and we move you to the next level. We connect you with the Debbie Ellis Writing Center. They review your work, and it's not remedial by any means. There are students that working on capstones that go to the Writing Center. It's another set of eyes to look at what you're writing to see if you're making connections. We also know that there are some students that come from high schools that don't have the type of writing curriculum that they wish they would have had. And so we take those students, I look at those students and I meet with them and we scaffold projects. And our goal is to improve writing, not to master writing. As my colleagues here will tell you, we've all submitted abstracts that have been declined and had to do revisions. So writing is something that you learn throughout life. Just as the discussion is something you're going to learn. How to listen is really difficult. We often have ideas that we really want to share, and we want to share those in a way that we think everyone should understand. But really, if we sit down and just listen to what someone is saying, it opens up new avenues for discussion and for understanding. And especially at this time, and with what we're dealing with this pandemic, listening is so important, and creative problem solving. How we're doing remote learning right now is something that none of us expected was going to happen, but we adapted. Our students are doing incredibly well. Faculty are doing incredibly well. Yes, we have problems. I've had an internet outage, and so right in the middle of a lecture, things went awry, but we pick up and we keep going. So I think I'm going to turn it back to Julie and see if there's questions.
Sure, thanks, Desi. So our first question is, how do you help orient your first year seminar or advanced entry seminar students to Southwestern? And I think we'll turn that over first to Jess.
That's a really, really fantastic question. And I think a big part of this is actually something that came up sort of briefly, and I think Julie's opening, and maybe even in the last panel, as there was a little bit of conversation about Welcome Week. One of the great things about FYS is that we really get the chance to hit the ground running, and we really get to know each other very, very closely over that first week. We're meeting every day for more than an hour, 2 hours, sometimes 3 hours. And that's also on the heels of a summer writing assignment, which is giving you the chance to engage with some material from our class and then kind of show off your understanding of it thus far. In other words, it's a wonderful gauge, it's a wonderful diagnostic for where you are coming into Southwestern. And exactly as Desi said, and even as Scott picked up on, this is very much about meeting students where you are and pushing you, helping you to reach the next level as a thinker, as a scholar, as whatever discipline it may be that you're interested in pursuing going forward. And this is something where it's really crucial to remember that even though the topic is the topic and it is wonderful and it's a great means by which to do all of this work, the topic is only a vehicle, right? So it's a means by which to get you acclimated, to get you oriented within that first week. And that's why this class begins before any of the others do. Moreover, it's an opportunity to work through together what it means to read at the college level, what it means to write, to discuss, to think, to research at the college level. And then continuing with this process of acclimating you and helping you get oriented to Southwestern, FYS ends and AES ends before the end of the semester. So just as things are ramping up in your other classes and you're being greeted with final papers and final exams for the very first time, which can be challenging, the FYS is over. So you've got a little bit more time to prepare, and yet you can still lean on us as your FYS faculty to help you through those last several weeks of the fall term. Hopefully that answers the question, at least as a starting point.
Great, thanks, Jess. Our next question is, when is summer homework assigned? I kind of mentioned that in my opening comments. And how long do students have to complete it? And what does a summer assignment usually entail for FYS or AES? Scott, I'm going to throw that one to you.
Okay, thanks, Julie. Yeah, so one thing you'll find in a lot of FYSs and AESs in general is that there are a number of assignments, but they're low stakes assignments, which means you're going to do things and they're not going to carry a lot of point value with them. As I mentioned earlier, fully a quarter of my grade is participation. So when you do your writing assignments, there are a bunch of them, but they're small and they don't count a lot. And the idea is the more you practice, the better you get it. It's the same way with my assignments. Typically, and correct me if I'm wrong, Julie, sometime in June, some letters will go out to you that will detail what's happening in your seminar, and it will include the summer assignment. So for instance, in mine, I usually include a book. It's not long, and it's actually a really fun book to read. So I've had lots of not only students, but their parents comment that this was a fantastic book. We really enjoyed it, or they might have already read it. And I have them do two things. I have them keep a journal during the time that they're reading the book, just to simply, maybe it's just a sentence that they simply write down. I read this chapter, this was a really cool idea, or I don't understand it. And then they turn that in. And it's basically, if you do it, you get credit. Then the other thing that they do is, it's due the first day of class, is they turn in a short reflection paper, and it's 2 pages double spaced. And it's just basically for them to reflect on what they took away from the book. And it actually ends up being the focus of our first discussion in class. And so I want everybody to share what they've done and recognize that everybody's taking something a little different away from the book. So sometime in mid to late June, you'll be able to start the assignment. I am a realist. I know that there are plenty of people that probably don't start it until late July or early August. and that's okay. I mean, you have other things you're doing. It's your one summer between high school and college. We're not trying to weigh you down. So it's a fun book. It's something you can finish fairly quickly. And then it's a relatively minor assignment that comes in. Okay.
Great, thanks. We have a question about what the difference is between FYS and AES. First year seminar is for students who come in as first year students, and advanced entry seminar is targeted toward our transfer students who have college experience behind them or already under their belts. Okay. All right, we have another question about what kinds of support does the FYS AES provide to students who may be struggling academically or otherwise? And Desi, I'm going to ask you to take that one.
All right, great. Yeah, Southwestern has many levels of assistance or help where students can reach out. And then also faculty are very much attuned to their students. Because of our small class sizes, when a student doesn't attend one of my classes, I immediately email them and ask, is everything okay? And so if I don't hear from the student, I follow up with another email. And usually what happens is that the student was working on a project and they just overslept, and they'll say, yes, everything's great. But one of the things that they appreciate is that they're noticed, that we know they're not in class. We also are aware if someone comes to the classroom and there's just something that is a little bit different about them, that they're preoccupied, they're not responding the way they usually do. So we have many different levels here at Southwestern with help that we can provide. There's the early warning system. Now, the early warning system is activated usually within the first, I think it's the second week of school, and Julie can correct me if I'm wrong. The idea with this isn't that a student is doing poorly. If a student doesn't come to class and they don't respond to my first email, I'll send them an early warning system, and what happens, that immediately goes to Dr. Jennifer Leach, who's head of the retention and admission office. And they will follow up with an RA and say, hey, is everything okay? What usually happens is because in the past, anytime you get any kind of a notice from the administration, you panic and say, oh my God, what's happening? I know I'm doing well. Of course you are. But these are just some of the things that we can do. There's also our counseling center. We know that students often when they come into a new environment, there's a lot of stress involved. Moving, leaving your family, while as much as my kids, I know wanted to move out and go to college, a couple weeks later, they weren't so sure. And so there's a support staff there. There's the counseling service that's there. So along with the faculty member teaching the class, you also have an academic advisor. And we encourage the students to have a rapport with academic advisor, not just for academics, but just to come in and say hello, how you're doing, what's going on with your family, what's going on with your living arrangement. So Southwestern has many, many levels of help for students that are struggling, or maybe they just want to talk and they just want to bounce some ideas off of someone that's not their roommate, but it's someone in the administration or a faculty member. So we encourage everyone to reach out at all times, but you should know that you're not going to hide at Southwestern. Our classes are small. We pride ourselves on that. And we also pride ourselves that we react to what we see happening with the student. Even if it's not vocalized, we respond, we get the cues, and we want you to succeed. We think that you all come here with great potential, and it's up to you to sort of figure out what that potential is. And I think many times it's potential that you didn't even realize that you had, and passions that you didn't even have. So we want to open those windows. Julie?
Great, thank you, Desi. Laura, are we at our time? Or do
We are at our time, unfortunately.
Okay.
But I want to thank all of you. You did an amazing job. And for all of you who joined us today, we are so grateful. And again, we're excited. We hope you join us in the fall. I look forward to seeing you on Monday evening, late afternoon, as we start our next session. Have a great rest of your weekend, and we look forward to seeing you soon.